Ryan has an idea to start the week. That's good. That's good.
Here's the idea. Smash the like button, click the notification bell. There you go.
There you go. Good morning and welcome to Wake Up Real Estate. It's Monday, tax day, April 15th, tax day. Oh boy.
Oops.
Is it really? With my accountant all weekend, literally. I'm like, yeah.
This is the first year I only have one tax document. It's amazing. I have like one beautiful. K1. That's it.
That's beautiful. I, on the other hand, have a lot more complicated than that. And I think this is the first year in a while where it's actually the 15th. Because like they extended a few because of COVID. And then like if it falls on a weekend. And anyway, hope you're all squared away as far as that goes. We've got a couple of quick topics, things to share today to kick the week off. Ryan's got a social post. I want to start with some motivation. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I text my kids every morning something motivational, something inspirational, trying to positively brainwash them in a good way. And this morning was from Greg Maddux, a phenomenal pitcher for years in the major leagues.
I was going to say that name rings a bell, but I couldn't. Yeah, my head, you were going like motivational speaker type guy or something. Greg Maddux, he's a baseball player.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna relate it. I promise I'll relate it to what we do. Yep. Greg says the best pitchers have a short-term memory and bulletproof confidence. And let's face it, in what we do, we have to have the same. We got to have a short-term memory and a bulletproof confidence. I forget who it was to attribute this quote to, but something along the lines of, going from failure to failure without losing your level of excitement or your level of motivation. I don't know if that's a Roosevelt quote or a Churchill quote. I don't know, one of those guys. But it's part of success in this industry. Like you have to learn from failures. But if you start owning those failures and letting those failures affect your daily, weekly, monthly actions, that's a surefire way down the drain. So
this comes up a lot. This comes up a lot with kids in sports too. It's like you got to learn these lessons early, but
process over results, right? Process over results. If you do the right things enough times, the results will follow eventually, and sometimes sooner than others. That's that can be a little bit of a mind trick.
I've been in the industry since like late 90s, and have brought a lot of people into the industry. Like I had a team, brought people in. And so you see a lot of people succeed and fail. It holds true all the time. It's like 1 out of 10 is still doing this after 10 years or whatever it is. And that's the thing. It's almost like you kind of got to be, to people looking in at you, you almost have to be stupid. Like, dude, you just keep failing over and over. And how does that not bother you? Yeah. You guys watching, comment below if you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and the trick is, it is going to bother you. Can you get over that? Yeah. And how quickly can you get over that? Right? How quickly can you can you re-energize, remotivate yourself, etc.
And sell your spouse on the same idea.
That's a big one. That's a good one there. Yeah. All right, so there's your motivation. Let's check out Ryan's social post of the day.
Yeah, this one I just went with a property list. I missed the opportunity to do something tax related, which I might have to do tomorrow to make up for it. But anyway, seller financing offered. I think this is a wonderful niche, especially if you're thinking about going kind of the investment creative route in the coming months and years with the way the market's going. If you go look in your IDX and your MLS right now, and you check off that seller financing box under options, and you only choose, let me go bring this up here, and you only choose income property and commercial, you might be surprised. You'll see like a nice kind of grouping of properties that are offering seller financing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Josh, with the way rates are going, everything, this could be one you run in your market to attract mortgage business if you're dual licensed.
Right.
because you're starting it with a financing type hook. So there you go. I just took a picture of one of the listings and threw some arrows to the seller financing that came on the KV4 site.
I have two mortgage related things that one is a somewhat of a natural follow-up to this. Next Monday, Jordan and I are in our EXP organization going to be talking about assumable mortgages.
Yeah.
And although not directly seller financing, somewhat related. And let's face it, it's looking more and more like rates are not going to come down a whole lot.
Yeah.
And that is going to force us all to be better and more creative problem solvers. And so assumable mortgages can be a great, I don't know, call it hook, let's say. But there are negatives with it, right? There are, for example, you don't really have any control over the motivation of the lender to actually finalize the transfer of it. Or
is that even like with a VA? They don't have to allow the assumption.
Well, they do, but there's no motivation on their part to do it in an expedited manner. In other words,
they give you a hard time underwriting it.
What's that?
They give you an especially hard time underwriting it, and
they might do that, or they just like it's not it's not on top of the stack of files, like it's
like
kind
short sales used to be.
Yeah. So there's that piece of it, but the part of why we want to present on that is you still have to make up the equity. So let's say someone bought a house in California in 2020. They've gained a lot of equity. They probably have a low rate, and they have to sell because of a job transfer, or they're just sick of the California taxes, whatever. They're not just going to sell and give up their equity. And so part of what we're presenting is closed-end second mortgages to make up the difference in equity, where the blended rate between, let's say you're assuming a mortgage at 3% for $500,000, and you've got a second for $200,000 at 8.5%. Well, that blended mortgage is still better than a new first position mortgage for the whole amount. So we're going to present on that next week for our group, but we'll probably...
Just so I understand, you're helping people assume a loan, but then giving them a second for the rest?
Right? Because for, that strategy theoretically is one that, there might be more and more interest in the coming months and maybe even years, depending on what happens in the economy and with rates, et cetera. But the problematic part of that is the equity spread. That has to be, and if you're offering your home for sale and offering an assumable, right? You've got an assumable mortgage, and that's part of your marketing strategy for it. But you're only allowing for people that have the equity in cash to
right. They need the cash. Yeah, they need to be able to put down like 40% or whatever.
You're dwindling down the buyer pool, right? And so the solution we're offering is we can do second mortgages even with an assumable first to make up that equity, to get everybody paid in the transaction and to get the sellers their equity out of the property.
What's the max LTV you end up with there?
We have seconds they'll go to 95%, and in some cases 100%, depending on credit score and so forth in this specific scenario.
This is a pretty important topic for listing agents right now.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're having a hard time getting a property sold, it could be a good marketing hook for an individual property. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, as with any hook or concept, etc., it's a way to generate the conversation and find out the best solution for them. In many cases, assuming the first mortgage is not going to be ideal, because if the sellers have a certain timeline that they've got to move on, etc., there's nothing you can do about the lender speeding up that. You don't have control over that the way you would if it was a new first position mortgage for the property, but can still be a great way to provide value to your seller, and generate more, more interest and more conversations.
Just a question: back when the short sales were, heavy in the early teens, was there ever regulation that said that the banks had to respond to those quicker? I can't remember. I remember it being a huge problem.
At some point, I would guess at some point there was something.
If anybody remembers, comment. And then I wonder if the assumptions, if some regulations come down and say, hey, you need to deal with an assumption, like you need to respond within a certain amount of time. Because they can't, it's not fair for them to drag their feet on that, the servicing companies or whatever, to hold up deals. And it hurts the market.
Yep. One other mortgage thought before we pivot into at least a couple of things that I had on my list to share today. Tomorrow at 1 Eastern, Jordan and I, really, I'm just hosting. Jordan's going to be presenting Credit Direction 101. So talking about credit direction and how we go about helping borrowers improve their credit strategically to improve their ability to qualify for a mortgage. Because there are no lack of credit repair companies. Some of them are more on the up and up than others, let's just say. But the big caveat with most of them is they're not looking at it from a mortgage qualification perspective. So we're going to present on that some basic things that if or when you're having conversations with clients about their, where they're at credit wise, that you can provide them some general tips and tricks and so forth, but also demonstrate to you the kind of service that we provide for folks that need some credit direction. And just for the record, this is not just for low credit score or first-time buyers, et cetera, because for many borrowers, there are different credit score thresholds that if they hit the next threshold, it can drastically improve their rate or lower their fees, et cetera. So this is relevant to pretty much any borrower, unless you're talking about, perfect 800 or 850 credit score borrower. So if you would like to join us for that tomorrow at 1 Eastern, joshvips.com/credit, joshvips.com/credit. So I had two topics that I put in the show title today. The one I'm going to relate back to process. Okay. So I had a whole bunch of iList notifications over the last 3 days of people coming back to look at their dashboard. And as I was thinking yesterday and this morning, what do I want to do to follow up with those folks? I need to do something. They're obviously indicating through their behavior that there's, they might just be curious, but they might be thinking about refinancing, selling, or maybe even buying an investment property. I mean, who knows what they're thinking about, but let's have a conversation. And as I was thinking that through, I was reminded of something that I know works every time I do it. But I haven't been doing it consistently, especially the last couple months, which is personalized video, emails, and or text messages to those folks. And so I am recommitting to doing, I don't know if I'm going to commit to 5 a day or 10 a day. I'm going to decide by the end of the day today, let's say, but commit to getting back to doing that more consistently, because I have an overwhelming amount of evidence over the last few years that is a great way for me to convert cold or unconverted leads. And in fact, the clients that we just settled a couple of weeks ago, where we sold the house that we helped them buy years ago and helped them buy a new one, like personalized video messaging was the thing that Callie, the wife, pointed to as the reason why they chose to work with me in the first place. And I have lots of other evidence. I've got lots of evidence of from the HELOC campaigns that I've been running that those personalized video follow-ups have been massive in turning those into, people that are unengaged or unresponsive, and getting them to agree to look at other options or whatever. So the couple of use cases that I will be doing, and I will share throughout the week here as I do some of those, would be number one, the people engaging with their iList dashboard. Now, what if you don't have iList? Well, if you got people that are opening market reports or or requesting home valuations, whatever you have, you could use that data as creating a short list of people to follow up with. Okay, you don't have to be using iList. It's just that I've got that, and I'm seeing people coming back and actively engaging with that. So that's one bucket. If you don't have that at all, just take your past clients and do 3 or 5 a day to your past clients. Just
how you doing?
Yeah. It could be thoughts on their updated value or offering an updated value or whatever the case may be. I'm going to get to Alina's in 1 minute because I want to give two other. The other buckets is people that are showing up in your dashboard, whether you're using KV Core like we are, right? People that are looking at properties in your dashboard. That's easy. Like literally just like that.
Hey, saw you were looking at a property. Here's
exactly. Right? And you could have. So here's. I'm going to answer Alina's question and then give like the formula for this, I think, at least from my experience. So she asked, what video platform do you use? I've used BombBomb. I've used Core Video, which is KV Core's integrated BombBomb, and I've used Loom. What I have gotten the best, and this is anecdotal, right? Because I'm going from what I feel like I have experienced. I feel like Loom has gotten me the best results when I'm using this strategy. Okay. But whatever you'll actually use is better than not doing it. Right. Because there's other ones too. I forget what some of the other ones are as well. Use what you've got to start. And then look at, if you feel like you're doing the right work, you're taking the right actions, and for whatever reason, it's not yielding results for you, then it could be the technology that you're using. It might be something with that. So that's number one. Number two, the formula for me is this, and this is what I'm going to follow. Number one, I use my Make It Big app, and their name is on the phone. Okay, so if I'm sending a personalized video, their name flashing on my phone. That's number one. And then number two, it is a screen recording with my talking head, and it's something relevant to them on the screen. So it's either their iList dashboard, right? It's got their property and their different values, etc. It's a property that they were looking at. Okay. It's something that they will recognize as being relevant to them. They see their name and they see something relevant to them. They are going to check that out. Right. It's like it's a pattern interrupt. It's the same reason why, thanks.io direct mail, especially the dynamic builder works so well. You're getting a piece of mail that has your house on it, right? Like it's a pattern interrupt. You can't help but be curious. What is this about? And then lastly, ideally, 60 seconds or less. 60 seconds or less. Short and sweet. The exception to that is, where I go more than 60 is if it's a follow-up and we've already had engagement. But if I'm using it to get the engagement or to try and get the appointment, etc., 60 seconds or less, because we just live in a world right now where, anything longer than that, people just, they tune you out, or they feel like, oh, this is too much work. So that's That's my formula. I'm going to send that. I'm going to send personalized video follow-up to all of the iList notifications that I've gotten over the last, I'll call it a week today. And then I'll create my plan moving forward for the rest of the.
Because those are all seller leads, those iLists. Those are all homeowners.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're worth spending some time on. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, listen, they're all worth spending time on because you don't know. You don't know that the person looking at the whatever house in your database, they may own their own home. They have parents that maybe they have parents in the area that are thinking about, like, you don't know, but creating that personal connection with them. And I know I can hear some of the old school coaches saying, well, why don't you just pick up the phone and call them? Well, because you're going to get maybe 10% of them to answer.
Josh,
number one.
If you call me, I'll be insulted.
Yeah.
Don't call me.
Yeah.
You'll
be more frustrated than. So then I got to be a ninja at pivoting you to from being annoyed to being engaged, versus I'm creating an experience where not only do they hear my voice, they see my face, and I'm making it about Ryan. Ryan's name is flashing on my phone, and Ryan's house is showing in the background.
And they can consume that message on their time instead of being interrupted by a ringing phone.
That's the big. So that was the thing I was going to say next. They get to choose when they engage with your message, and you're creating that connection, but in a way that they're in control of, and therefore it is not likely to have that confrontational, shock value. Oh, why is this person calling me? And I don't know about you, but my phone, I'm getting more and more spam calls every day, no matter how many times I block the dang calls, right? So we got to find different ways to connect with them. I might even try, I don't know. I'm just thinking of this now. If I'm going to do that, I might even, this is just thinking out loud here. I might send them a thanks postcard that QR codes them to my Loom.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. Andrew does call me, and I'm usually busy, Andrew. I try to pick up for you. There's some people you pick up for, but sometimes I'm not in a space where I can mastermind. So
for those listening only, Andrew says, Ryan, I'm taking your number out of my phone. I'll only send you Loom videos from here on out. So a couple of great comments and questions, etc. George says that Loom is free. It is up to a certain point. So I pay for Loom now, but you can get started with it for free for sure. And it's a great way to get started.
You can just go on Facebook and record a message, can't you? Over Messenger?
That's the other thing. You can send personalized video messages through Messenger as well without any technology. You don't need anything for that. Now, if you want to screen record, you can create the Loom or the BombBomb and send it through Messenger if you want. Alina asked, is there a legit way to buy an email list of likely to sells if one doesn't have a large list of sellers?
Let me take this one. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to shamelessly plug something. You can actually do this, Josh, with thanks.io to create an email list of likely to sells.
I know.
So
preach, Ryan.
Yeah. So if you go into the radius search builder right here, and there's other ways to do this, but you can search likely to move right here. We have absentee owners, people with home equity. We custom created these from a number of databases. We're using like a number of different filters, and it's probably just as good as anything else out there. I don't know. Really, how do you really know if somebody's likely to move, right? But we're using a few different categories. Anyway, you can buy a mailing list of these with the physical addresses at 5 cents a record. But an additional 20 cents a record, which might be a little pricey, you can append the email on the phone. Mm-hmm. So you could do it that way. Josh, what other ways can you get likely to sell?
There are other, I think there's one, I haven't used this in a long time, likely.ai, I think is one where you can buy that data, the likely data. Remine is one where you can search by medium or high sell score. Likely.ai is the one that I was thinking
To
about.
me, what I used to do back in the day before all this stuff is you just go into your tax records. We used to be able to do this. I don't know if you can. And you just export the people who bought like 7 years ago, whatever you think the itch cycle is. And that's, if you can cross-reference that with mortgage data, there's lots of ways to get it. But you might be able to just do it straight in your MLS by how long you've lived in the house.
It's 20 cents per record. Yes, Charla, 20 cents per record. PropStream. I love PropStream. I've been using that forever. growwithjosh.com/PS. Get a free trial there. Play around with it. You can't filter for likely, but using Ryan's logic and filtering, what you can filter for example, would be choose a zip code, let's say, and you know what? Why am I talking about this?
Go ahead, do it.
Yeah. Let me share my screen and I'll log into my account there and I'll show you an example of how you might build a targeted list of people that you can then append email and phone data for as well, just like you can inside of Thanks.
As you do that, we do have I think the retiring one is pretty good that we have in Thanks. So people we think are retiring.
Okay.
So the reason I bring it up is just life events. I don't know if kids are of a certain age, stuff like that.
Yep. So, for example, and I was actually presenting on this late last week. If I want to build a targeted list of people in my market that might be thinking about downsizing or right sizing, how might I do that in PropStream? Well, I'm going to start with a zip code. Okay, so I've got a local zip code here. And then I'm going to go to filter. The first thing I always do is go MLS status no. Okay, MLS status no, because I don't want to market to on-market properties. I'm going to go to property characteristics and I'm going to choose single family. Now, you might also, if you're in an area where it's a lot of 2- and 3-story condos or townhouses, you might also choose that too, right? So some of this, I'm just riffing here. And you have to, ultimately you have to figure out and play with the filters for yourself. But I'm going to go minimum number of stories, 2 stories. Okay. And then I'm going to go ownership info. I'm going to say owner type, individual. Okay. I'm going to go absentee. I'm going to say, I don't want any of the absentee. I forget how you do it where it's only owner occupied, to play with that. But the last thing I'll do for now is ownership info. I'll say minimum years of ownership. I'm going to say 20. So now I've got 517 who they live in this specific zip code. They own a 2-story home that they've owned for at least 20 years. It's individually owned, so it's not like owned by a corporate or some hedge fund or whatever. And what else did I put in there? I can't remember. But, theoretically, I've now got a pretty targeted list here. Now, I might also, there's other ways I could filter it down. I could choose 4 or more bedrooms, right? Because maybe the house is just too big. Okay, so like if I wanted to add that on, I could go back to filters and go property characteristics, minimum 4 bedroom. Okay, and now I've got, why did that add to them? Well, that's weird. I'd have to play with that to understand individual. Yeah, I don't know why that tripled the list there. But point is, there's any number of ways that you can use data to create a targeted list of people that you can then market to. And I know that Ernest, I don't know that he's on today, but he's having a lot of success building a targeted list and then putting digital ads in front of them, reaching out to them by email and or phone and text and direct mail to them, right? So in that scenario, if you can build a targeted list and you go deeper with that smaller targeted list, theoretically your ROI is going to be greater than just spreading a broad messaging to just spray and pray kind of marketing. Alina, I'm not going to, we can't give legal advice. She asked, can we email them with proper unsubscribe wording?
We might do a separate session or private session about this, because I've been doing a lot of this, Josh. It's not, you don't want to mass email, but there's something called cold emailing that you can do.
You can drip email.
Yeah.
And if you have the proper things in place, it's not nearly as quote unquote dangerous as if you're robocalling or power dialing, and things of that nature. It's
nuanced.
Yeah. So good questions there. One other thing that I had real quick, and Ryan, you chatted me, and I never answered. So DDevi, we set it up, and then I don't know, I got busy late in the week and kind of got a little distracted.
Well, that's a good one to let run for a few days anyway. So
yeah. So wow, okay, I've got more in here than even early this morning when I loaded this up. So here's what I'm finding for me so far. Not a ton of leads on Facebook. Okay, and this one you can see this is actually an agent. Now, the nice thing for me is, because I'm dual licensed, I could reach out to Heather and say, hey, are you working with a lender to help promote this listing? I mean, there's any number of ways I might reach out to that. I'll show, I did get one that was next door. It's a woman. Where did it go? Oh, scene leads. It's a woman who is selling for sale by owner. And so I DM'd her. I haven't heard back yet, but I literally just did this morning. So I DM'd her looking for more information to see if,
You see how it lets you jump into conversations though? Like it's kind of.
It makes you way more efficient.
Yeah. You're just kind of jumping in when things are being talked about.
The thing that I'm trying to figure out what to do about is LinkedIn, because it got me excited. But what I'm realizing here is it's just a bunch of agents and or brokers. Look, I even showed up in here. And so,
well, with your mortgage angle, maybe you just use that for agent attraction and get mortgages and just start. See, what you can do is just go like their post and shoot them a follow. They'll go look at your profile, and then maybe they see you posting some of your mortgage stuff.
That's a great idea. That's a wonderful.
It doesn't take a lot of time.
Yep, exactly. So what I need to do, my next step with this, is to just make it part of my, my daily routine. But I'm loving it.
I'm doing it like between. Like when I have 5 minutes of dead time, I'm using that. Like I said last week, is instead of scrolling mindlessly, I just go and see what's going on in there.
Yep.
So
better use of time. Ryan, did you have anything else?
No. Just a note for you. There's a 50-50 chance I won't be here tomorrow. I might be on a plane.
Okay. Well, so that's perfect transition. Housekeeping item. So tomorrow, with or without Ryan, we'll be doing Texting and Traffic Tuesday, same time, same place. At 1 Eastern tomorrow, Jordan and I are going to be talking Credit Direction 101, and from the perspective of helping you help more clients and ultimately then sell more homes. And you can join us. That's a Zoom, so they're more interactive. You can bring scenarios and questions, etc. And you can register for that at joshvips.com/credit. There's also a link in today's email for it, and we'll email you about that session tomorrow as well. We will be, we should be live all week, same time, same place. And our Wednesday mastermind, at least part of that, I am going to do a follow-up, making a new version of my new construction campaign with a new video. Same idea, but a different style of video. And I might record it today because the sun is shining and the sky is blue. I was waiting for a nice day to record a video outside in front of a new construction home, and I've got one right around the corner. So I'll do some follow-up on that, and those are free to all to join us at wakeup.realestate/MM.
I mentioned the real estate transaction list funnel. That's over on the Inside Real Estate channel, YouTube channel. Josh, I don't know if you were here, but I've been making those videos. There's about 4 or 5 of them now. If you want to build out that funnel, and I'm adding like 1 video a day for the next few weeks.
Beautiful. So, check that out as well. One and all. let's make it a great week, and hopefully see you tomorrow.
See you guys.